Excellencies, distinguished guests, VCs, corporate, brilliant minds, what an incredible moment to be here with you for the second edition of the Deep Tech Summit. It is truly an honor to be standing in front of such a diverse and forward-thinking audience, all gathered here to explore one of the most critical transformations of our time.
Indeed, Sophia, beautifully said. Ladies and gentlemen, the room is a bit cold. I need to warm up. So a resounding round of applause for UM6P for pulling off what is indeed a trailblazing moment for Morocco and, of course, the continent of Africa. My dear Sophia said it beautifully and brilliantly. This gathering does indeed mark a pivotal moment for our society. Ladies and gentlemen, deep tech is no longer a frontier. It is a force. It is the connection, the bridge between science and society. And right here in the middle, right in the middle of this evolution, we have our outstanding theme, which is redefining progress, how AI is transforming deep tech innovation.
Well, you said it. AI is no longer just a tool. It is a partner in the way we think, innovate, and build. So for the next couple of days, consider this summit a living ecosystem of knowledge. You'll get to meet thought leaders that are pushing the boundaries of AI. You'll witness startups that are changing bold ideas into real-world impact, and you'll engage with people who are not just talking about or predicting the future, they're actually building it.
They are actually building it. And over 4,000 participants, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you are here to sign new deals. Some of you are here looking for investors. Some of you are here just looking for some form of inspiration to know that you are indeed on the right path. Well, whoever you are, whatever you do, all we ask is that you be bold, you be curious, and you be ready for the unexpected.
As your hosts, Anita and I are proud to welcome you again in a place where science meets purpose and where bold ideas can ignite global impact. The 2025 Deep Tech Summit begins now. Let's unlock what's next together.
Facing today's challenges, humanity searches for answers. What if the answer lies in the convergence of science and technology?
Welcome to the universe of deep tech.
Who are you?
I am the convergence of science and technology, created to serve humanity.
In a world shaped by algorithms and circuits, who am I? Am I still human?
I can help you understand, integrate technology, make it a tool for humanity.
But how can I be sure it won't take away my humanity?
Let me show you.
With AI, I see the invisible. I treat with precision. I save lives.
Clean energy, powering a sustainable future.
Cities that breathe, technology improving our lives.
AI and sensors protect my harvest, save water, feed my community.
These drones save lives, fast, precise, vital.
Together, we create a future where technology deepens our humanity. Not tomorrow, today. When science meets purpose.
Well, as we open this new chapter in the Deep Tech Summit, it's only fitting that we start with the voice that has been instrumental in shaping the vision behind UM6P. He is a visionary and a leader committed to advancing the frontiers of science and technology. He brings a forward-looking approach, not just to research and education, but also entrepreneurship and the amazing role that Africa is playing on a global innovation ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to welcome on stage the president of UM6P, Mr. Hisham El-Habdi.
Assalamu alaikum, sabah khair. Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second edition of the Deep Tech Summit here at UM6P in Ben Guerir, Morocco. We convene today with a shared conviction that the future must be engineered with intent and that technology must serve purpose. Our theme this year, redefining progress, how AI is transforming deep tech innovation, is less about how fast we go and more about where we're headed. It challenges us to look past the hype and ask deeper questions. Not just how fast we can move, but where, why, and for whom. When we launched this summit last year, we envisioned it as more than just an event. It was a statement of intent, a statement that declares that progress needs to be redefined, that it must be inclusive, impact-driven, that the fourth industrial revolution cannot afford to leave the global south behind, that Africa is not only ready to lead, but also to lead. And today, that statement resonates louder. From 2,000 participants last year to over 7,000 registered this year, from 30 countries to 53 represented, and over 980 startups in attendance, we are witnessing a momentum evolving into a movement. At UM6P, we define deep tech not as hype, but as high-consequence innovation, where scientific knowledge breakthroughs are mobilized to solve humanity's most pressing challenges. Whether we're talking about sustainable agriculture, next-generation health systems, green energy, or quantum, deep tech is the architecture behind a more resilient, inclusive, and intelligent future. And powering this transformation is artificial intelligence, not as a novelty, but as a strategic enabler. AI today is general-purpose technology that demands general-purpose responsibility. It is rewriting the playbooks of industry, reshaping value chains, and reimagining public goods. And yet, its potential will only be fully realized if we ensure that its governance is ethical, its access is equitable, and its impact is globally and equally distributed. Africa has a unique stake in this future. We have the youngest population in the world, 60% under the age of 25. That's not just a demographic fact or statistic, it's our greatest asset. A generation of builders, dreamers, and doers ready to engage the world on equal terms. But potential needs infrastructures, talent needs ecosystems, vision needs platform. This is what we are building here at UM6P and what this summit exemplifies. A platform for science-based entrepreneurship where academic excellence meets industrial agility, where research becomes ventures, and where ideas find the means to scale. Over the next 2 days, you will engage in 66 sessions across 11 thematic tracks, exploring AI's transformative role in fields like agri-tech, health tech, cybersecurity, energy, and quantum computing. You will also celebrate excellence through the DTS Prize, recognizing visionary startups in life science, green economy, and African innovation. But beyond the sessions, the pitches, and the prizes, this summit is about purpose. It is about redefining progress to prioritize people and the planet. It's about ensuring that AI and deep tech serve as forces for good, ethical, inclusive, and sustainable. It is about empowering Africa to not only adopt global innovations, but to create them, export them, and lead the world toward a brighter future. So I invite you, researchers, entrepreneurs, investors, and policymakers, to use this platform to connect across disciplines, to challenge assumptions, to turn shared purpose into collective progress. Let the ideas exchanged here become the foundations of tomorrow's breakthroughs. Let us together redefine progress. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. President, for those inspiring words and for your continued leadership, drive, and impact and innovation at UM6P. Please give him another warm round of applause. And now, as we're prepared to dive into 2 days of thought-provoking dialogue and breakthrough ideas, let's ground ourselves in the vision behind this summit through a short DTS film that captures a powerful glimpse into its values and vibrant ecosystem.
Do you believe in change? Have you seen it? When science meets purpose, have you felt it? From Africa to the world, we do. We are living it. We can almost touch it. the future in our hands. This isn't just a shift, it's the birth of a movement full of promises where all the data, theories, solutions, probabilities finally become real. From here, we can now uplift lives, transform industries, rethink the world for better and greater than ever. We began as a summit, but today we are more. We are a living global hub, an engine of innovation, a pulse of collaboration and partnership, a flow of collective intelligence and forward thinking. This is what happens when science meets purpose. Our ambition is no longer a dream. It's a path, a compass from Africa to the world. Today we can reimagine what could be every frontier to become the foremost global reference in deep technology. Can you hear it? Future is calling, and we're its spokesperson. We lead the forefront of technological innovation, forging pathways between academia and industry, between research and reality, between vision and impact from Africa to the world. When science meets purpose, we are able to create tomorrow's beliefs. We engineer, we empower, we connect, we share, we believe in the potential of this brand new Africa, an Africa of new tech debonair, able to expand opportunities right here, right now. The next wave of disruption is no longer linear. It's accelerated by intelligence, artificial and collective. The future begins here. Be at the core of its creation. Get ready.
All right, it is now my privilege to introduce the visionary who brought and conceived this summit to life. His passion for innovation, entrepreneurship, and impact has shaped every aspect of what the Deep Tech Summit is about. He is the CEO of UM6P Ventures. He is the CEO and founder of Fova Technology and the Director of Entrepreneurship and Venturing at Dev UM6P. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome on stage Mr. Lerziwi Yassine.
Good morning. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and to all the change makers and the deep techers gathered here, welcome to DTS 2025 edition. It's a pleasure and an honor to stand before such an amazing team of believers in the future of deep tech and Africa that share one common purpose, which is how we should leverage deep tech and AI to reinvent the future of our societies. Over the next 2 days, we are going to be discussing many topics, going from how we can apply AI to agriculture to quantum computing, and going also from clean tech, green tech to biotech. Over 66 sessions on more than 11 focus spaces, and also with 180 speakers coming from all over the world. But before we do that, allow me to share the reflection behind the idea of putting AI at the center of the conversation of this edition, and also the idea behind positioning Africa as a leader or one of the leaders in discussing and collaborating around these subjects. And also I'm going to be sharing the Aurora vision at DTS team in this super rapid evolving landscape. And when I say rapid evolving landscape, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, during the last 3 years, the world is within a turmoil. I don't know if you remember, November 2022, when for the first time in history, an artificial machine was able to engage in convincing conversations with human beings. I know this is a commodity today. All of us, we use that to write essays, maybe to write emails, to conduct search and deep search. But let's stop for a moment Isn't that mind-blowing, surprising? For the first time, a machine is challenging something proprietary for the human beings, reasoning and interacting. I'm sorry, this is not a commodity. This is hacking parts of the human brain. And on the science part, I'll give you just one example because we're going to be discussing hundreds of use cases during these 2 days. But one mind-blowing example is related to the medicine. I don't know if you know about the deep tech AlphaFold. The deep tech AlphaFold was able to predict the 3D structures of more than 200 million proteins. This is unprecedented. 200 million proteins are all known proteins to science. And just a few months ago, the third version of AlphaFold, the AlphaFold 3, was able to even predict the interactions between these proteins and RNA, DNA, and small molecules. This is literally revolutionizing drug discovery, revolutionizing with ING, meaning it's happening now, and we didn't even had the chance to see the impacts. And believe me, the impacts is going to be huge on drug discovery and the global health. So this is one example of how AI is becoming not just a tool. Maybe it's becoming an engine, an economic engine. But maybe it's even more. It's progress, it's evolution unfolding. But here we need to ask a question, an important question. What does mean progress in our era? Is progress just improving efficiency, more automation, or maybe even GDP growth? Or is it something deeper, something more impactful? Isn't it about redefining human progress, about improving human conditions, also about a more inclusive economic growth, where nobody is left behind? So yes, this is a hard question. And if we want to define the progress, I'm sorry, AI won't do it for us. Only our goals, only our values, only our ambitions will do. And this is the exact reason why we decided to choose this theme, redefining progress. We will redefine progress, but we will also analyze the impacts of AI on deep tech. So AI is no longer a tool. AI is more than a tool. AI is disrupting anything we've been doing for hundreds and even thousands of years. AI is becoming something bigger. And the way I want to define AI sometime, when it's applied in intersection of deep tech, I call it's the innovation of innovation. It's even the disruption of disruption itself. This is for the world, but for Africa, it means also something else. It means an acceleration, an opportunity, a way to leapfrog. I've always been talking about leapfrogging the African technical and tech evolution. But today, AI is offering an amazing opportunity. We can defy the weight of history. We can defy the gravity of history. We can leapfrog because AI is offering something big. We can use our own data. We can use our own talents. We can leverage our diaspora to build something big that is going to maybe positioning Africa in the global landscape of technology. And you may also ask another question. Why such a big event, international events? Because, by the way, 55% of the attendees are coming from abroad. So why UM6P and Ben Gurion? And the response is very clear for me. UM6P is the microcosm. It's a sandbox where the intersection of deep tech and AI is not just an abstract concept. It's a reality. Just a few meters from here, if you walk to Startgate, you will meet hundreds of startups being incubated here. Startups founded by Moroccans, Africans, and from people coming from the US and Europe. They're building something big around deep tech and around AI, and they're trying to contribute in changing the world, starting in Africa. UM6P, my dear colleagues, is having a very bold business model. Difference maybe doesn't exist in any other university. Our vision is about moving from the lab to the market, from the research to the ventures, and also from Africa to the world. So this is an amazing opportunity for Africa to leapfrog, and of course, again, to defy the gravity. You should use it, we need to use it, or at least we should try to make it happen. If we won't succeed, we won't regret it at least. So yes, I don't think that we're going to be able to answer all the questions that I'm asking today and that you all have in your minds. It's impossible. But at least we're going to be planting the seeds of collaboration, the seeds of interaction, the seeds of commitments, the seeds of investments. If an investor during the pitch in the dark session or reverse pitch or in the pitching in the elevator, for instance, meets an entrepreneur and they both launch the next big solution over AI that will change a field and industry, we have succeeded. If a policymaker hears a fresh insight and decides to adapt its policy for a more inclusive AI, we have succeeded. If a student gets inspired and decides to have a career in deep tech and says, this is where I want to make a difference, we have truly succeeded. So, of course, I started by asking the question, what do we mean by progress? And I need to give you my personal opinion about it. For me, progress is about innovation benefiting to the many, not just the few, and to all continents, not just one or two. Progress for me is when a breakthrough deep tech technology based on AI can transform into real venture, and these ventures can transform someone's life, quality of life, to the better. This is the real progress we are looking for. And of course, if I may say, why not? We can do that from Africa to the world. If we can, but we need at least to try. So, my dear colleagues, again, it's an honor. Last year, it was a surprise. This year, 7,000 people coming to the Deep Tech Summit. This is mind-blowing. So I would like to thank you a lot for being parts of the 2025 DTS edition. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yassine Lazoui. Of course, it is on his wonderful shoulders that all of this has been put together. So, ladies and gentlemen, please do indulge me. Another round of applause for the great man. And now we switch gears just a little bit to a fireside chat that I'm deeply excited about, because our next great speaker is a force in the world of innovation. Now, I believe that he can see the future because a lot of the technological advancements, the products we're using, sat in his purview. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker who will sit here with me in this fireside chat called, of course, our theme, Redefining Progress, How AI is Transforming Deep Tech Innovation, is the founder and managing director of Ventcrest Partners. Please give him a DTS round of applause. He is Steve Sisinski. Another round of applause for Steve as he takes his seat. Steve, go right ahead. Thank you. Steve, it is wonderful to have you in Morocco. And it's even wonderful because your quote sits right above my desk in the office. Don't be constrained by what is. Open up your mind to what could be. Oh, I'm honored. It's quite scary. Here you go, Steve. It's quite scary when you think about what the mind could do. But I would like to start off, first of all, by congratulating you for being who you are, doing what you do. You know, you're a wonderful lecturer at Stanford University, and I said earlier on, if we think about the future, it's almost like you saw the future coming, And so you put your life and your energy into it. We thank you for that. Let's bring it to why you're here at DTS, at the Deep Tech Summit. Steve, can you tell us why this is so important for you?
Well, thanks very much. It's quite an honor to be here. I want to thank the DTS team for pulling this together. When Yassine, who you just met on stage, all of you, invited me to participate in a Deep Tech Summit in Africa, my first reaction was, really? I hadn't heard much about deep tech in Africa. And so he showed me what had been accomplished last year at the summit and explained to me what was all involved. And since I knew him from Stanford University days, where he worked with me when I was teaching there, I said, sure, I'll be happy to do that. So I've been teaching at Stanford for the last 15 years. This is the first class I've missed. I'm teaching this quarter, and I have to report back. I told it. I have to report back to my students. About 30% of them are from Africa. Okay, and I said, I'm going to this, and they said, okay, you have to report back. Like, I make them report back to me, but now I have to report back to them as to what I'm accomplishing here. So I'm here to learn. I'm here to find out what deep tech projects and initiatives are being worked on here in Africa.
Thank you so much, Steve. And one of the things, of course, naturally, we're all talking about AI, and we're talking about how important it is. I'm sure that many years ago you knew that AI would take over some way, somehow. But let's talk from the vantage point of someone who sits right in the middle of Silicon Valley, being a trailblazer that you are. And then let's look at what that connection is to Morocco, of course, and then Africa in its entirety, the continent. What's your thinking? How do you see this relationship between humans and AI, and how possibly Africa could be at the forefront of that advancement of innovation?
Okay, just a quick bit of history. The company I was president of, SRI, Stanford Research Institute, actually invented the first robotic robot back in 1966. It's called Shaky, and it was created by an AI lab at SRI, and that led to a robotics lab. It was the first time digital and physical came together. I ran an AI company about 20 years ago called Resumex, which matched open job requisitions with people's CVs and their resumes. And I saw the power of AI back 20, 25 years ago. If you look just a few years ago, a very major consulting firm, whose name I won't mention, came out with a story about what the top 10 technologies would be. This was in 2018, 2019. AI was not one of them, okay? Here we are today. Everyone's talking about AI. The most recent one from that article from that consulting firm, 9 out of the 10 had to do with AI. That's how quickly AI has become commonplace from where it was in our labs. It is obviously a game breaker for all of us as human beings. Stanford has set up an institute across the university called HI, Human-Centered AI, and the idea is to have AI work for humans as opposed to the other way around. This is changing. This is a great opportunity, to your second question, for Africa, new initiatives, startups, and so on, because it's going to really level the playing field. Using AI, you can basically obsolete a lot of applications in business and in personal that have been in use for many, many years. And those who have the clever agility to figure out how these markets will be changing, the courage to move forward, the resilience, as we all know, that startup companies need to have, are gonna really do well in this industry, in this whole area.
Steve, we're going into a powerful 2 days of engagement, sharing, collaborations, etc. How would you define deep tech from your perspective, from your experience? And perhaps, as you leave us, how would you encourage us to pay attention to this evolution, and again, to ensure that the continent of Africa is at the forefront of what's happening in the world of deep tech?
I can feel your passion about Africa. Okay, so Anita, so I'll tell you a story offline about a woman in I think your home country, Ghana, that we're supporting in business. But on to your question. Deep tech, the way I define deep tech, and I'm interested, I've been asking already last night at dinner some of the colleagues that I've got here about deep tech. So the difference is, so starting with tech ventures, that's the use of, that's mainly engineering and commercialization. And it's using current technology that's already been proven in the market to work, to be maybe used in a slightly different way. Deep tech is, well, this technology is not proven. So instead of just having two elements, engineering and commercialization, you have the third element, which is the science behind it. So that's the third group that needs to be brought in, and that is hugely risky for any kind of customer or any kind of individual to use when it's all new and has never really been even invented yet. So imagine yourself on the other side, being the customer and having to stake your career on this startup company that's got some AI or some nuclear fusion or some astrophysics or something that has not yet been applied to a certain problem that this company has. Huge risks involved on both sides. So it's going to take more people, specialized scientists. It's going to take more capital, more equipment, and a lot more patience by investors. These VC funds that are going to be formed now for deep tech are going to be longer than 10 years. They're going to be 12, 14, 15 years before we can start to see some of these technologies really take hold. On the other hand, the opportunities are immense. We're going to go through some really amazing changes over the next 10 to 15 years.
So thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. But last words, what are you hoping to achieve, and what are you hoping to see, and what are you hoping to be embraced with, if I may call it that, in your time here in Morocco?
Well, obviously, this is my first time to Morocco, and I'm really, really impressed with the country, with the approachability, the people I've met. I've been treated with great hospitality here, and so on. I'm hoping to take back with me an idea of what they're all thinking about. This is a young crowd for the most part, but even some of the folks who have been here for quite a while are quite interested in seeing Africa erupt, and Morocco in particular here take charge on a leadership role on the world scale, as has been referred to. And what a great event to be able to do this at. So thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call him the man, the myth, the legend, Steve Sisinski, founder and managing director of Vencrest Partners. Steve, it's been an honor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Steve as he takes his seat. And this brings us to our panel discussion today. It will be led by none other than the director of the Deep Tech Summit, CEO of UM6P Ventures, founder and CEO of Ouverture, and director of venturing and development at UM6P. You heard him earlier. You are going to hear him again. Please welcome Mr. Yassine Lagzoui, as he will entertain and he will have this conversation across board again on the topic of redefining progress, how AI is transforming deep tech innovation. Please welcome.
Again, all. So, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very much, Anita. Amazing fireside chat opening this whole event. And now we're going to be moving from something very high level, where we are discussing the impacts of AI and deep tech on humanity, to something more practical. And this is why we selected 4 of the most brightest minds, each one specialized in his field. This is going to be launching, setting the tone for the whole event. We're going to be discussing topics from AI and the impacts on humanity, and to ethics, to agriculture, and to practically how AI is changing today the lives of Africans and also all the people in emerging and more development type of economies. So please join me in welcoming the first panelist, Mr. Jalal Sharaf, who is the Chief Innovation Officer of UM6P, and please a round of applause. Not only because he's the Chief AI and Digital Officer of UM6P, but also because he's a deep friend of mine. And he has a very special vision about how we need to implement AI in universities. Please, Jalal, have a seat. I'd like now to welcome also Mr. Stavros Yanuka, who is one of the friends of UM6P, who has been working with UM6P on many subjects related to education and talents. So another round of applause for Mr. Stavros. It's okay. Yeah. So I invite Mr. Ram Kiran, who is the Interim Director of Digital Transformation in CGIAR. He's based in Kenya, and he's transforming agri-tech all over the world. Thank you for coming. And last but not least, Ms. Reshma Singh, who is the director in the Lawrence Berkeley Lab in the US. I had please a round of applause, of course. I had a chance to visit the Berkeley Lab last year, and this is mind-blowing. I mean, at least part of the world future is happening in Berkeley Lab. I mean, I had the chance to visit one of the particle accelerators, but what surprised me more is any researchers from all over the world can go there and conduct research. This is amazing. Thank you all for coming. It's an honor for me to have you guys. And we have many pressing questions because we have the big responsibility to set the tone for the rest of the summit. I mean, whatever we're going to be discussing here today is going to be resonating in the other sessions. So we need to be bold, we need to be direct, and we need to say what happens, what works, and what doesn't. And I will start with my friend, Mr. Jalal, who is the Chief Innovation Officer of UM6P. And please, I mean, my introduction wasn't the best, so I would like you first to say a few words and then ask my first question. We are talking about AI and entrepreneurship and deep tech, but we didn't yet talk about the recipe of implementing an AI-based ecosystem. AI is a tool, it's a commodity, but beyond the AI, beyond the chatbot, and beyond the tool itself, we need something else. We need the infrastructure, the talent. We need an ecosystem. So based on your experience at UM6P, and also because you're the general manager of EcoCentral in Casablanca, please share with us what is the best way to build a real ecosystem enhanced and built over AI and the intersection between AI and deep tech.
Thank you, Yassine. I'm Chief Digital and AI Officer of UM6P.
I know.
In this, well, because you asked me to also explain that.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Just because he asked me. The question you have here is, what is the recipe for building the ecosystem? Actually, AI is something that we all struggle to know what to do with. It's very difficult because it's a new technology, and a lot of people liken it to, sometimes even fire or electricity, because it's, a general purpose technology. As somebody put it, it's like a drug. We don't have the dosage, we don't have the side effects, we don't know exactly what to do with it. So we're in this period of, I would say, fermentation, where we're trying to figure out what to do with it. Everybody's talking about AI, as Steve pointed out. Some years ago, nobody was really, only some few specialists knew about it, but since November 22, now we're talking about AI in everything we do, in work, entertainment, even in, in creativity. And I think the best way to build an ecosystem is to make the maximum people aware of it and try it. We're responsible of making people test it and see what they can do with it. So in a setting like university, what we are trying to do, and especially at UM6P, we pushed AI to people. We're the first university in Africa to adopt ChatGPT, now in partnership with OpenAI, and we pushed it so that people start to see what they can do with it. Our mission is actually to transform how education, research, and entrepreneurship are delivered here using AI. And in that way, we don't have the recipe. I mean, if somebody says they know, please tell us, because I think we're all trying to understand what to do best with it, and we're in the early days. AI is the worst it can be from now on, because it's improving every day, not even every week. And it's an amazing time in our history to live this moment, but to do it concretely, because you asked to come to something concrete. What we do at UM6P, for example, is try to use it to transform the processes, to find new products or new services. All this without losing sight of our really, most important mission, which is to empower minds. So the promise here is we're betting on young people in Africa. And I think, as has been said many times since this morning, we want to leapfrog. We want to create the future. Of course, using deep tech is one of the means. But I think AI is giving, it's the hope, it's giving the possibility to anyone to dream big and to make it happen. And that's why it's a very, very special moment in our history as humans.
Thank you. I mean, I totally agree. I've been witnessing what Mr. Jalal is talking about. UM6P has been the first university in Africa to implement ChatGPT, where Western universities were resisting. And we even visited OpenAI in their headquarters, and they asked us, guys, help us find a way, help us find a model where AI is going to be enhancing education. And this is something we're going to be discussing with Mr. Sarvas afterwards. But first, I have a question for Reshma, because again, I was impressed when I visited Berkeley Lab for many reasons. And one of the reasons is, I don't know if you know that, but Berkeley Lab is one of the labs in the world that produces the most impactful innovation for the world. I mean, many Nobel Prizes, many technologies that are now we are using every day, but they were born in Berkeley Lab. So my question is not about the scientist part, the research. You're smart guys and you have the infrastructure. My question is something related to what I do as well. One of the most challenging parts of doing the job is transforming the tech from the lab to the venture, from the research to the market. This is super difficult because it's like a value of debts, and it's sometimes hard to translate these in real needs. So if there is no market, there is no innovation. So what is your recipe in Berkeley Lab in transforming this? Because you're one of the leaders of these efforts. I mean, generally, but also more specifically to your field, which is clean energy and smart cities.
Thank you, Yassine. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say this is my passion, so thank you for asking me that question. I love science, I love entrepreneurship, and I love combining them, which is why I work in this space. I've been working at Berkeley Lab for the past 14 years, and Berkeley Lab is home for people who don't know. It is part of the 17 national lab system of the US Department of Energy, and we are home to 16 Nobel laureates and home to deep discovery in science. We have 16 of the elements in the periodic table were discovered through our particle accelerators and cyclotrons. So yes, you're absolutely right, and we welcome you back again. My journey actually began in architecture and design thinking, and I think at some point I became really intrigued with research and development around clean energy and buildings, and so I started to work in this space. There has been a lot of public and private programs that I've been working on. In fact, the first program I ran at Berkeley Lab was a US-India collaboration on buildings. And through this collaboration, I realized that the catalytic capital that comes from the government and the market capital that comes from the private sector are both essential for moving technology from lab to market. So we have seen just historically that game-changing breakthroughs can be enabled when this powerful clash happens between, or collision happens between public and private. So take, for example, the US Department of Defense's DARPA agency, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. They infused the first funding into what is now we call the internet. So they actually worked with CERN in Europe, which is an amazing example of international collaboration. And without that, we would not have the internet. We would not be able to live the way we live today. Another breakthrough I'd like to talk about is the US Navy and the government providing support to the GPS. And today I could not leave my home without the GPS in my watch or my phone. But often these things take a long time to accelerate. We did a quick case study of Silicon Valley startup called Kairos Power, which is doing a nuclear energy startup. And they actually got intellectual property from one of our sister labs, Oak Ridge. Guess how long it took for them to find the IP? Just guess. 10 years? Close. It's 60 years. 60 years. So this shows that the durability of the IP is there, but unless there's a market need and somebody and the talent to accelerate it, will not happen. And today, Kairos has signed a deal with Google for the advanced molten salt micronuclear reactor. And they're basically enabling AI. That would not be possible with our national labs. But we don't have the time for the decades-long innovation process to happen. So at Berkeley Lab, which is situated in Silicon Valley, we've developed different models and experimenting with different lab tech to market. So the first model we developed 10 years ago was called Cyclotron Road, which is named after the cyclotron, the particle accelerator. And the startups launched through that really are working on using testbeds and prototyping facilities and taking lab tech to market. They have actually enabled $2 billion in follow-on funding. Some of the best geothermal startups, some of the best battery startups are coming from there. Another model we launched about 5 years ago is called Impel, which stands for Incubating Market-Propelled Entrepreneurship at the Labs. And through this, we have launched 300 startups in a very underserved building sector. And they've already started to build out manufacturing facilities, and they have enabled new commercialization of building technology products in energy. And finally, my favorite is Cradle to Commerce. Cradle to Commerce literally takes IP from the cradle of our national labs and moves it to commercialization. So in the past 18 months, we've enabled 15 startups to unleash the power of 10,000 IP that sits at our national lab. So each of our startups is taking untapped, high potential IP to market, and we're enabling them through the power of $100 billion worth in test beds that we have in our national labs. And we are not only bringing the science, we're also adding incubators and bringing science and business. So just like as you mentioned, international collaboration is important. Cradle to Commerce is also enabling startups in this space to nucleate the next generation of products. Like we are doing Cradle to Commerce, I feel Africa is a cradle of civilization, and Africa can bring that cradle of what you're doing in technology and as well as your traditional wisdom to the world.
Thank you. So it's not just about leapfrogging, it's the return to the origins. Oh, I like it. So, I mean, you know, tech to lab, the processes, the billions of dollars we talk about, these are important. But imagine if we don't have the necessary talents and education and the human capital. Would it work? No, even with the billions of dollars. This is why we have our friend Stavros here. Stavros is, when he took over the responsibility for WISE, he did a great job. I mean, I read some articles about him, and many call him the guy who transformed WISE into the Davos of education. So I read three or four articles about it, and I'm sure there is some truth in it. But please, Stavros, help us understand what is the role of education and human capital in fueling this AI revolution. Of course, there is the AI where we need to reinvent, skill, upskill, reskill, to prepare the workforce for the next for the next revolution happening now. But I want to also, if you can, give us some answer about what should we do also in terms of research to prepare the PhDs, the researchers, to be prepared what's going on. I don't know if you use the deep search option in ChatGPT or the other Manus or the other agents, but I mean, they do all what you need as a basic. I mean, they put hypotheses, they do the research, and they reinvent the way we do research. And this is also something that is reinventing the way we do research. So in terms of skills, in terms of human capital, what should we be aware today? And do we have some action plan that we need to prepare?
Well, thank you, Yassine, and thank you, Hisham and other colleagues at UM6P for the partnership, for the warm welcome, the collaboration. I just want to say that, you know, WISE is a think and do tank, part of Qatar Foundation, and we're really trying to connect the dots between policy, research, and innovation in education. And we're here in force. So we've been here since Monday. We have with us the 6 startups that we are supporting through the WISE Prize. I encourage people to go and listen to their presentations in the one of the sessions right after this one. We're also here with our research partners, including UM6P, where we're trying to actually do answer some of the questions that you're posing. You know, I mean, in terms of, okay, AI, education, how do we think about the opportunities and also the challenges? I mean, I'd like to echo a little bit Hisham's remarks, your remarks. I think we need to take a step back and ask ourselves, okay, why do we educate? What's our purpose here? Is it just about workforce development, or is there something more? And here I want to draw a little bit on my Greek heritage. We have several words for education, but my favorite one is morphosis, which means to shape, to give form to. And essentially through education, what we're trying to do is to give form to and to shape human beings. And so I think we need to keep that front and center, that human beings are the input, but they're also the output for education. And then whatever we do with AI, however we harness its potential, it has to be with that aim in mind. So maybe a couple of provocations, if you will. You asked, I think, the question that a lot of people are asking, which is, okay, what can AI do for education? And how do we, how do we harness its potential? And there, I think, look, there are opportunities to personalize learning. There are opportunities to significantly enhance access through, AI agents that can act as tutors, that can act as teaching assistants, that can act as research assistants, right? Or even co-principal investigators, maybe at some point, right? And I think here, we should be keeping in mind that potential and that opportunity and trying to harness it again in the service of humanity. But I think we also need to take maybe again another step back and ask ourselves, okay, how do we change education in view of AI? What is the education for AI? Not just AI for education, but education for AI. How do we, you spoke, I think, and you alluded to this, that, hey, we're dealing here potentially with a new intelligence. Maybe at some point a new consciousness. Who knows where this is going to go? We need to start thinking about how we are going to be interacting with that new intelligence. And that needs to go, yes, we need to, we need the STEM and the science, and you guys are doing a phenomenal job here of training the next generation of African and global leaders who are going to have the technical skills necessary to help shape this future. But I think we also need to think about the broader community and embed within our education systems an understanding of this technology and how we, how we interact with it, that helps us avoid the mistakes we made with social media. And I can come back to that later.
Thank you, sir. Totally. I mean, I think you're totally right, and this is the question under. It's a plate that we're still cooking, and we have an amazing collaboration with you guys, because we are conducting right now a research addressing these questions. So we need some data, we need some analysis. Maybe we're not fully ready, but it's going to be happening very soon. And it's amazing that UM6P is one of the leading universities, thanks to WISE, that is already conducting this research along other network of universities across Africa. Mr. Ram Kiran, thank you very much for coming. You're the interim director of digital in CGIAR. That is thinking, it's a thought leading institution thinking about the future of agriculture based in Kenya, based in Africa. That's amazing. And my question for you is very simple. I mean, food security is not going to be impacted by AI for today at least. I don't know if it's going to be transforming the human body, so it would need food, but I don't think it's going to be soon. So we need food security all over the world. Africa needs to play a big role. So my question is very straightforward. How AI is transforming how we are increasing the yields in the field, how we're going to be securing enough food for the population, not only in Africa, but all over the world. AI is playing an amazing role. And myself, I've been trying to invest in agri-tech startups all over the world. But the recent months were phenomenal. No, you don't need longer, you don't need any very heavy type of hardware to develop something that's going to be increasing the yield by 20, 30, 40%. You need just a smartphone, you need a good database and a good model, and this wouldn't have been possible with what's going on in AI. So I would like, because you're at the forefront of this discussion, how AI is, and of course deep tech is transforming agriculture, not only in Africa, but all over the world.
Okay, just a quick introduction about CGIAR.
Please.
So CGIAR stands for Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research. We are a network of nearly 14 international agricultural research organizations spread all across the world in the global south. Phenomenon like Green Revolution, which largely happened in countries like India, was all facilitated through the work of CGIAR, like the likes of Dr. Norman Borlaug, who was a Nobel laureate as well. He conducted his research and work in a CGIAR center called CIMMYT, which is headquartered in Mexico. But yeah, we are very strongly present in Africa, considering that Africa will be a global hotspot for food insecurity, nutritional insecurity, as well as the climate crisis that is going to be upon us very soon. Speaking about how AI and digital in general are transforming the agri-food systems landscape, I don't call it agriculture, I call it agri-food landscape, because not only food needs to be grown on the field, but the food also needs to be processed, it needs to be distributed, it ultimately needs to the consumer, right? And if you really think about it, the human health is actually at the nexus of agriculture health, because if you grow healthy and nutritious crops, that translates into a more healthy and a nutritious population, right? So agri-food systems, I think, are an entry point for solving a number of globally relevant problems that we are all trying to solve. Coming to specific role of AI and digital, right? First and foremost, let me try and break this down into 5 different pillars where AI really makes an impact. First, agriculture research, wherein we are trying to come up with newer crop varieties, coming up with newer technologies for farmers to adopt on the field. I think you use the word innovation for innovation, if I'm not wrong, in the morning, right? So fundamentally, the way agriculture research is conducted, increasingly a lot of AI is mainstreamed within our innovation processes today, right? We are able to churn up new crop varieties very soon. In fact, within crop breeding, there is a process called phenotyping, wherein you're actually seeing how a crop is performing in the field, like how tall is it growing, what is the size of the canopy. Those were some activities that were done manually in the past. That is where increasingly we are using robotic technology, drones, etc., to automate those processes, right? So the way we are able to develop newer technologies is becoming much faster. That's one. Second, environment is a very big input into agriculture. right? You need good soil, you need good rainfall, you need good climate, which is, like I say, how well a crop grows is a function of three things. It's a function of the crop variety, the genome of the crop, the environment in which the crop is sown, and thirdly, how well you manage the crop. So GEM, these are the three parameters that drive crop performance. So today, thanks to technology, especially sensors or satellite technology as well as drones, today you have newer means to really monitor the environment. So your ability to understand and monitor the environment translates into better decisions on the crop. Third, about management, okay, I have a great crop variety, I have the ideal soil, ideal climate, but still, the farmer needs to manage the crop for them to generate the output. That's where you increasingly are seeing a lot of mobile app-based, advisory apps, a lot of stuff, a lot of startups are doing, wherein you're trying to take technologies that are created in the labs and then using a lot of digital innovations to take that technologies to the farmer to support them with their own decision making. It could be in the form of improved fertilizer recommendations, improved crop planning, improved sowing, etc., improved harvesting. So there are a ton of things that startups are trying to do to sort of help the farmers make better decisions, right? So these are three pillars. The last is, end of the day, farmer also needs to sell their produce into the market. That's where the impact, that an improved yield translates into an improved income only when the farmer is able to sell into a profitable market. That's where you're seeing a lot of e-commerce kind of opportunities where farmers are finding newer pathways to translate their enhanced yields into enhanced incomes.
Thank you. Very insightful, and I think there is a gap we need to overcome. And talking about the gap, it's super important also to take a step back. Now, everyone has access to the chatbot or to a tool that's going to be helping him writing essays, reflecting, even having a coach, an AI coach is going to be helping him making better decisions. But we are not sure that this is going to be stay the same. Maybe this gap is going to be, widening. Maybe tomorrow we won't have access to the best tools. And it's already happening. I mean, I heard that OpenAI has increased the price to access to deep search to $20K, to $20K, I think, a month. This is huge. We can't have access to this kind of technology. And this is not going to change. Maybe in a few years, African entrepreneurs won't be able to access to another more evoluted. So there is a real serious gap. Today we are on the same, we are equalized, we are on the same starting line. Tomorrow maybe it's not going to be the case. This is why I want to ask Jalal a very important question about access to AI. How can we radically democratize access to AI? I'm not talking about now because you've done an amazing job by allowing all the staff, all the students in UM6P having access to the best tools. This is not going to be sustainable if we don't do things. So how can we make sure that African entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, researchers, deep techers have access to the best tools, not only elite researchers in other places where they can afford it?
You're absolutely right. The challenge that we all have is to actually democratize AI. That giving access to a lot more people is our biggest, I think, and more interesting problem to solve. Why? It's because we're talking about things that we don't know. We ignore a lot of things as we speak and as we talk about AI. Just surprises ahead. We don't know what direction it will take. But it's full of hope and promise for the future of humanity and for the future of Africa and Africans. Now, I think that so many people, we have Simon Sif in the room, a great Moroccan entrepreneur. He's been saying during the last months that you have to believe in your dream as a Moroccan. We've been talking about the American dream. A lot of people know about the American dream. But now we need to have a Moroccan and African dream. And this technology is making it possible, but if you give it to everybody. So doing it in a space like this is easy. It's easy to do a good job when You know, UM6P gives you all this world-class infrastructure. But can we recreate UM6P everywhere? No, it's impossible to do this because we don't have the means. What UM6P did is to prove that it was possible. Everybody who comes here, they actually realize that it's possible to do this in Africa, in Morocco, in other countries. So what we need now to solve is how to give access without replicating infrastructure costs and constraints to a lot more people. That's why, for example, we're launching an initiative that we call Africa 100, which is to train 100 million Africans among the farmers that we work with through OCP, for example, to train a lot of young people and give them access even remotely. Because, you know, Yassine, the next solutions are going to be done by some minds, some people, some young people who are not even in the room, who don't know that we're talking now, and they probably have the solutions that we don't even think about. So, you know, humbly speaking, I think that we do not grasp the universe of possibilities. We don't know it. All we know is that it's something big, and it's going to come from, you have to expect it to come from anywhere, from any person, and it's, I think we have a lot of young people who are hungry to learn, hungry to solve problems, and we should not be, you know, focusing on technology only and saying we need to build the technology. I don't think we have to do that. We don't have the money for that. I think those other countries are doing it for us. Thank you very much. And I think we have to use it and to solve our problems, because I don't think other people, other than Africans, will actually focus on the African problems. We need to give access to food, to health, to education, to a lot more people than the happy few who are here. And that's why it's really, that is the real project. And what we're doing here in a sandbox like UM6P is testing, showing that it's doable, and now we have to scale it up. And to do that, we need to partner with everybody. That's why we're all here. This is something that will take some time, but we have to stay obsessed with that objective in mind, because this is the promise of Africa, and this is the promise of the world. I don't think we have to copy. Of course, we have to use. You know, we need to have our DeepSeek moment as well. The DeepSeek showed that finally it's not just a matter of money and the powerful GPUs and all that, but it's also a matter of how hungry you are to find solutions. And that's, I think, it's a great opportunity for us. And again, we're working very hard to find ways to scale it up. Yeah. We have many ideas. I just talked about Africa 100, but it's not the only one. So let's see.
Yeah, we totally have many problems to solve. And one of the biggest problems we need to solve is climate change, because, you know, AI systems won't work in a planet that has been destroyed. And this is why I want to, if I may ask you, Reshma, because I know when we visited, again, I'm always talking about my visit to Berkeley because it was one of the visits that I will never forget. And you are focused on climate and sustainability. This is like your sweet spot. And if you remember, we visited the house, which is on a rotating platform. When you have robots that are simulating real human beings, and you are developing an AI-based system to optimize energy consumption. That was mind-blowing, and it's moved when we were there, and we said, okay, this is something real. This is something that is necessary for the planet, and I think it's urgent to democratize AI. It's urgent to understand that AI is going to be transforming deep tech, but it's more urgent to understand how AI is saving the planet. So please, Reshma, can you walk us about the breakthrough innovations that are contributing in solving the climate change issue using deep tech and the intersection between deep tech and AI?
Yeah, this is really, really important question. I feel like I really do believe that climate and capital should have no boundaries. And I really love the idea of this intersectionality between all of us, Africa, America, Asia, all of us, right? So I'll give you a few examples maybe in terms of like how AI is being used and deep tech is being used. So the first is in, I would say, material development and discovery. So some of our startups are using some of the open source databases that we have. So we have at Berkeley Lab something called the Materials Project. I would encourage all of you to look at it. It is an open source, largest, possibly, arguably largest in the world materials database. And so some of our startups are utilizing that. So Materium is one of our startups, and they are trying to find the next generation of battery chemistries using this material database by using earth-abundant materials. So not just lithium and, you know, you have lovely phosphate here, but trying to get to, is it zinc, is it nickel, is it manganese, you know, what is it? Another company which is called Carbon Negative Solutions, they're trying to understand how to use AI to look at the waste coming from industrial byproducts like fly ash and slag, and how do you understand through AI the variability of the waste and then be able to utilize this in the generation of green clinker and supplemental cementitious products, materials. So this is like the next generation of high-performance cement, which will have low embodied energy. So it's a way of being able to bring circularity into the discussion, which is very important for energy and environment. Another example is in terms of some of the work I have done myself, which is a research and development project where we flew drones around neighborhoods to try and understand the thermal analysis of buildings to understand where the energy retrofits that can happen. So one of our teams, Monair.ai, is looking at how to enable facility managers to use ChatGPT for recommendations to decrease the waste of HVAC systems in buildings. So they're cutting energy bills by half. They're allowing for preventive maintenance, which is actually really benefiting the waste which is coming from energy, right? Which is, you know, energy is actually 80% of global emissions. Exactly. And finally, I would say that in terms of being able to accelerate solutions, so Dora.ai is using an AI scribe to get unstructured data from multiple databases and then being able to do site analysis in a matter of minutes, which would take months to do. So energy projects which are stuck in the pipeline and don't get permitting happening, they're able to do it very quickly. So I guess the challenge now is, yes, we're using AI for developing new energy breakthroughs and helping with climate and environment, but the other flip side is that using AI uses 10 times energy. So doing a regular Google query takes about 0.3 watt hours, but doing ChatGPT query request takes about 10 times. So can we use AI? So that's my challenge. AI can help us, but can we use AI to help us use less energy instead of more energy?
Should ask AI, I think. I'll ask him. Okay. So very good points, and you talks about collaboration. You talks about how it is important to do that in a network, because it's all about data. It's all about sharing, and it's what's happening in a closed lab. It is important to create this connection. And I want to ask you, Stavros, I mean, I'm not going to ask you only about education, for a simple reason. I mean, when we met first, I think in an event organized by the Qatar Foundation, you were one of the easiest attendees that collaboration was easy to implement, because you were open, you were always talking about a win-win. We did a project, a research project, just a few days after discussing, not an MOU, but a real project of defining. So I think in terms of policy making and collaboration, this is key. You're coming from Qatar, and you're talking African language. You're talking about what is the role of Africa in deep tech and in AI. And this is not just in this event, because it's in Africa. You've always been discussing this. So I would like to ask you, what's collaboration in terms of policy making, but also sharing resources, building a real network can help us empowering an AI and deep tech enabled evolution?
Yeah, thank you, Yassine. I mean, I think, well, we're actually working on 2 projects, I think, together.
The other is confidential.
But, yeah. But look, collaboration is part of the DNA of WISE. from its very inception. You know, Her Highness Sheikh Hamza, who is the inspiration, the driving force behind WISE, the chairperson of Qatar Foundation, had that in mind from the very beginning, that this would be, WISE would be a platform that would bring together multi-sectoral stakeholders to collaborate and address some of the key challenges in education, using innovation really as the engine and driver of that. And so I think, you know, my, I guess, call to action would be to really encourage people, you know, to think broadly about how they want to collaborate to address some of the key challenges posed by AI. How do they want to maybe work together to leverage the opportunities, and to try and do that in a as inclusive a way as possible. I think one of the things that we were very keen to see in our consortium, in our research consortium, was that we weren't just bringing together the usual suspects. I mean, great universities like Berkeley and others, of course, they have a very important role to play, but so do universities from the Global South. And it's important to include those partners as well in order to gain perspectives and to address some of the concerns that you raised around, you know, the potential, is this going to widen the digital divide or not? And I think, again, making sure that our solutions are, what we're developing works also for the people who need it the most. And we're, again, the focus, for example, of our WISE Prize finalists who are here is really harnessing the power and potential of AI, oftentimes to serve those most in need. And in that regard, if you allow me to maybe just address your first question, I'm not so concerned. I think Moore's law is going to apply to AI, and over time we're going to see the technology becoming more accessible, more affordable. We're already seeing its use to, again, put, you know, a top teaching assistant, a top tutor, you know, in the pocket of every public school teacher in low-income settings. That's already happening, and that's going to be a step improvement, hopefully, in both the quality and quantity of education that becomes available. What I'm worried about is the other M law, Murphy's Law, right? What can go wrong will go wrong. And I don't know that we're spending enough time worrying about that and thinking through what kind of guardrails do we want to put in place, what kind of standards do we want to have, what kind of norms, ethics do we want to develop around the use of this technology. And again, this is something that can only really be done collaboratively.
Exactly. I mean, a few years ago, 27,000 researchers issued a paper saying, guys, we need to pause this craziness. We need to think about the impacts and the ethics about AI. But in Africa, can we pause? Can we press pause? It's hard. We need to pause play, but play of an inclusive AI revolution. Totally agree with you.
Yeah, you're going to have to do it in parallel. I think the pause is not going to mean
it's not an option.
No one's going to press pause.
Exactly.
We have to work in parallel.
Totally, totally. Ron, I have a question for you because we talked about challenges.
Sure.
So I'm going to switch my second question, and I'm going to talk about the challenges because, you know, we are talking about an AI smartphone, an African farmer in Senegal, in Morocco, in Nigeria, using AI to increase the yield. But let's face it, this is not happening yet. There are many challenges. Fragmentation of the land, the problem of digital access, sometimes electricity. We have many challenges that we are facing today. And even access to the internet to use AI is not available. So what are these challenges? And the most importantly, because we want to keep some hope, and we want, because we are kicking off the whole session or the whole events. So let's talk about the challenges, but also the solutions and the hope beyond that.
Sure, sure. No, absolutely. Things like digital literacy, affordability, these are all real challenges, right? And again, let's not paint a completely utopian world. The technology is great, the potential is great. Is it really creating the desired impact? No. Because of all the professions, agriculture is a very highly contextualized, highly localized profession, right? The way you convey or you transfer a technology to a farmer in Morocco can't be the same that you probably do in the US, right? But for me, the real hope, I believe personally, is in platform economies in agriculture. So you can't have one big monolithic solution that is going to be globally universal. But what I really hope for is, as the cost of innovating becomes cheaper and cheaper, as drawing LLM capabilities through an API calls becomes cheaper and cheaper, and as you create a lot of capacity on the ground, you will have innovators, like very small startups, 1 to 2 people innovators. For them, innovating becomes so ridiculously cheap, and because they are so locally embedded in the context, they are the ones who will look at the context, package the solution into something that works on the ground, right? So for me, when I envision what sort of an architecture, a business architecture, will really help us bring AI and all these digital technologies to create the necessary impact, my vision is you will have these global super platforms. It could be like OpenAI, AWS's, all the Microsoft Azures of the world, but they can't really solve the challenge on the ground. You will need thousands of small agri-tech innovators who are catering a very localized problem for a group of 1,000 or 2,000 farmers, for whom solving that problem is economically viable. It still makes a small viable business for them, right? So my vision for a solution is a business architecture comprising of thousands of startups solving hyper-local problems, but anchored by these global platforms. And for us to reach that stage, I think the public sector and the private sector needs to invest in a lot of human capacities, a lot of awareness creations, but more importantly, I think you mentioned it right, the guardrails. Like, there is a lot of data involved, there are a lot of data and ethics involved. And that's where not-for-profit institutions like CGIAR, I think we do have a responsibility to sort of see some of these emerging issues and threats in advance, start creating those guardrails in the form of data security or personally identifiable information, so on and so forth. That would be my response to you.
Thank you. It's an amazing response. Thank you very much. And totally right. And collaboration, building a platform. This is the solution. Working together, connecting all the hubs and all innovation hubs through South Africa. I've been receiving messages from my team saying, we've already over time, but we'll ask one final question that you're going to be responding in one sentence. Is this possible, guys? We'll try. Okay. So if you remember in my opening word, I asked I said we should redefine progress. So in one sentence, in your words, personally, how do you redefine progress of humanity in an era of deep tech powered by AI? Well, we'll start with Jalal.
That's a very difficult question.
I know.
And that was not the answer. I would say progress is when everybody has access to technology.
Yeah, thank you very much. Stavros?
Yeah, human flourishing has to be the goal. And whatever we do has to be directed at enabling, empowering humans to flourish in the many ways that and forms that flourishing can take.
It's about humans.
Absolutely.
I like it. Ram?
But human flourishing.
Human flourishing, of course, yeah.
Food and nutritional security.
Of course, we need to eat, yeah. Reshma?
Traditional wisdom from Africa, like the riads in Marrakesh, which have beautiful, aesthetic, innovative architecture, and people becoming not just users of AI, but producers of AI, to capture traditional wisdom and make it ethical to bring community knowledge into the ethos of AI.
It's lovely to hear that from someone coming from Berkeley Lab in California. Thank you very much. Guys, thank you very much. I learned a lot. I enjoyed the conversation. And yes, a big round of applause of our amazing panelists. And yeah, so we just kicked off everything, and all these questions are going to be deep dived in within the next sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our panelists for such a forward-looking conversation. Your insights have definitely set the tone and the stage for all what's happening in the next 2 days. And as Mr. Jalal Sharaf said, we want to have a Moroccan and an African dream. And that's exactly what those 2 days are going to be about. So, as we move forward towards that dream, we want you to fully immerse yourself in the Deep Tech Summit experience, an experience that is designed in movement, exploration, and choice in mind. Because we believe that innovation does not happen in isolation or in one single room. That's why the DTS is happening across multiple areas. So you will find 11 different experiences happening in 11 different formats to meet all of your needs. So if you are a VC, a corporate, a student, a startup, you'll definitely find something for you.
Okay, so Sophia, I'll just go through what our wonderful audience will experience over the next 2 days. If you would like to stay here with me in this auditorium, I will bring you into the world of AI and deep tech innovations which are reshaping industries. Or you may go along with my dear sister Sophia to the Amphi Igali, where of course you'll have the AI Society and government's conversation. You may also discover 25 cutting-edge innovations in our experimental showroom. If you're a startup, if you're an investor or a corporate, we've got reverse pitches, or what they also say, pitch in the dark sessions for you. Students, we have something for you. You can deep dive into the Deep Tech Factory while you explore every stage of Deep Tech journey. Real talk sessions are also happening if you're interested in that. These are open, honest conversations where no question about R&D or tech transfer offices is gone or will go unanswered. And finally, each session will last an hour. Be patient, be tolerant, embrace whatever you want to call it, absorb, do anything and everything, because indeed what DTS is giving you is revolutionary. Take advantage of all of it.
Also tonight, we will be announcing the winners of the prestigious Deep Tech Summit Prize, celebrating the innovation and breakthrough in deep tech. So make sure you stay with us for 8 p.m. and be with me in Auditorium Ibn Rushd to find out who are the lucky winners. And right after that, we'll have an amazing artistic performance by the one and only Fahd Ben Shamsi. So please make sure you stay with us because you don't want to miss it. Also, one final note, a logistic one before we conclude. We want you to be able to navigate better the DTS, so please download the Summit app to get all the information you need about the speakers, the agenda, the locations, and also do not hesitate to reach out to our info desk or our hostesses if you need guidance and assistance. All right, I guess it's time to dive into those 2 amazing days filled with inspirational and transformative experiences. Thank you all for coming and enjoy your summit. I like